moving ahead, I would like to invite our next keynote speaker, Mr. Sumit Arora, partner Pvalue Analytics Private Limited. He boasts over 20 years in the auto industry with Nielsen, Kantar and JD Power. He had set up the Sinovate Motor Search in India. Specifically in the CX space, he has set up company-specific platforms and industry platforms like NCBS, an MBA in marketing and a Lean Six Sigma executive black belt. His expertise spans industry-specific and company-tailored CX solutions. Happy to give you Mr. Sumit Arora.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's talk about customer experience, customer satisfaction, net promoter score, whatever you call, you will be doing multiple of these across board, and how it has evolved over a period of time. Now, you would notice it says a telecom case study. Why I have picked up a telecom case study in an automotive forum. Firstly, I think it's always nice to hear what's happening in other industries, especially other large industries with which most of you are familiar with, right? Everybody is using a mobile phone, will have a DTH connection at home, will have an internet connection at home, and so on and so forth. So you're very familiar with how CSAT, NPS, or customer experience is measured and managed in these companies. The second reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is this is an industry which has perhaps the largest single consumer database with itself. Right? In the morning, somebody talked about a car park of around 32 crores. Here is an industry which deals on a monthly basis of measuring customer satisfaction, at least my client of what, 40 crore people or 45 crore people, right? 45 crore mobile connections, add to it DTH connections, internet connections and so on and so forth. So you're talking about a very large set of database which brings its own challenges and complexities. And if we can learn from this industries, I think we can learn a lot on how to get and manage bigger databases and actually go deeper into them. Yeah. So this is something you would be familiar with, how CX or customer experience management has evolved over a period of time, right? We were in years back, decades back, we started measuring customer satisfaction through those pen and paper surveys, going to people and asking them what's happening with their car service or after sales service or sales process and so on and so forth, whatever transactional surveys we were doing. And slowly we started doing competitive benchmarking and so on and so forth. Today, largely customer service or customer experience measurement is fully automated process. So you would be seeing automation leading to a point where you're simply getting a WhatsApp after you've purchased something on Amazon or Myntra or wherever, or you've got your car serviced. On your WhatsApp, you get a message saying how just rated between 1 and 10. And I think a number of people, Basin sir also talked about it, how it has become so automated, right? It's completely machine-led. This is where today perhaps we are at phase 3. Of course, there are certain companies, certain industries, our client who has moved a little ahead towards text analytics, and we will talk about that, and towards meta-analysis measurement. I think a lot of e-commerce industries have also moved towards this at a very fast pace. I'm not so sure how deeply or how fast has the automotive industry progressed into it, but we'll talk about it and maybe we can add a couple of things into it. And then a brief summary towards where are we going next, right? I will not get into the future. We have time limitations. There's a lot of discussion we can do into the advanced future about it, but this is where we will head. Now, we'll talk about two topics over here. The first topic is to do with integration or meta-analysis of data. Today, you are talking about integration of data from multiple sources within the industry. We are doing competitive benchmark. Somebody quoted the JD Power score congrats to the MG team, hat trick in a row, right? I saw the Skoda team actually picked up a very different source of data, which is there. You're all doing dealer-wise data sets, analysis of what's happening. Somebody also talked about monitoring customer experience through social media, which is a very large scale. Your marketing teams are doing it. I'm sure your CSAT customer experience teams are also doing it. The idea is how we can integrate this to build a meta-analysis for you. We have done this for our telecom client where they have a voice-based NPS measurement. They have a text-based NPS measurement, so different sources, but fortunately same questions and same metrics, so merging them is far easier. But they also have started investing in text analytics, which I'll talk about next. They're also doing a lot of qualitative work around this, and they're also doing social media monitoring around this. Now, the idea is that could we actually build analytics on top of these large data lakes to get meta-analysis for you? Because you would have observed this in real life also as after sales leaders, and your marketing people would have also seen it, that people talk differently on different forums, right? We all have seen this, and I think this is, as a consumer, I feel this is not a very positive thing that when I get my car serviced or I recently bought a new car, I immediately get a call, which is very nice, to figure out what was my experience. And the moment I say 7 or 8, they tell me, sir, 9 or 10 though. So what you're getting is a very highly biased response, which is good for various reasons, and everybody gets a score of 9+. But if you really want to improve your scores, that's not the ideal way to do things. Fortunately, you have other mediums through which you can get actual consumer response. And why this is important? Because everybody is familiar with Net Promoter Score, and we believe we all have a positive Net Promoter Score. Unfortunately, what happens in real life is that only 25 to 33% of promoters actually go out and promote your brand, while 75% of detractors go and talk about your brand. So what you're measuring is not necessarily correct, which forces you or should force you to actually figure out the correct scores, which means going deeper into the problems or the good things consumers are talking about and fixing your meta-analysis, right? Don't stop measuring NPS or CSAT. It's an important score. The industry has been built in the last 20, 30 years basis this, and it has helped the industry move to a very highly process-oriented working pattern and a work culture, which is very critical. But now, as we talked about in the evolution, we move towards automation, we move towards processes, but now we need to move towards intelligence, which is a mix of both human and machine. And believe me, everybody knows this, machines are not going anywhere, right? Today you hear that automated voice talking to you. The only attempt the technology industry is doing is to make it sound more human, right? We work with a lot of social, political clients, and they have already taken it to a level where you would be receiving messages on your phones, which will be actually AI messages, but will sound highly human to you. It will be as if Mr. Modi is calling himself to you, right? So those are the levels those people are already reaching, and that is the level CSAT industry will very quickly move to also. In a couple of years, you will actually get calls which will sound very, very human, which will actually use your local dialect, not even local language, local dialect to talk to you. And it will sound very, very authentic, and you will actually sound you're talking to a human person, and you'll give responses accordingly. So meta-analysis is something we are working on with our client. And again, remind you, we are talking about very large sets of data over here. This is 1 million responses a month kind of numbers we are talking about. The next critical thing which we have been working upon and worked very successfully is text analytics. Another key issue with measuring numbers, we all love numbers, right? Is that numbers don't give you depth. You're getting that score out of 10 or score out of 1,000 depending on which service provider you're using, and that's it. Then you're using to cut it into various variables, various factors, 6 factors, 5, 6 variables within them, and that's the end of it. But what our client came back to us with a challenge, since they are in this business and they run a very large call center, when people call up, they call up with a lot of voice concerns. These are calls and people not only give you their scores, but they actually start explaining their problem or perhaps a good situation they have been in. The challenge the client threw up to us was that there is a large amount of voice data. As a client, you can listen to 10 calls, 15 calls, 100 calls, right? It's not possible to listen to all the calls which are coming to your call centers, but this is very rich data. Remember, when consumer gives you a score out of 10 on any parameter versus when he or she is actually talking about it in detail, it gives you very good insights, very deep insights of what is happening inside the business and what they want to be corrected or what you're doing good. So this was the challenge which was thrown up to us, and this is a challenge I would say to a very large extent we have solved for them, is by actually picking up this voice data. Now remember, this text analytics can be done across various medium. It can be done on social media data, which is already in a textual format, or what we solve for them is converting that voice data into a textual format using NLP, and then building analytics on those text masses which are in front of us by converting them into themes and then into dictionaries and so on and so forth, till we were able to quantify that data and use consumer lingo for the client to explain them what is coming out of this data. This has actually led to a very interesting, deep understanding of what consumers are actually demanding from the OEM, in your case, telecom client in this case. It has not changed the hierarchy of various LOBs or inputs which come into them, but what is it given is it has in certain cases enlarged the gaps between various processes. So for example, in this place, one of the biggest problems which the client used to face through NPS data or CSAT data was the contact center. But the contact center ratings were in negative. By the way, most telecom clients are in negative NPS, right? Large negatives, that's how they operate. And there are just 3 players, so you can just imagine what is happening over here. Contact center is one of the largest negative NPS scores. And they are struggling to figure out how to improve that. The score was that it was contributing 32% to their negative NPS score. When we ran text analytics on top of that, the contribution increased to -40. So from 32 to 40% contribution, that's a big jump happening. And suddenly it made them realize that this is not a problem which is just, that they can live with. They need to solve this problem. And that's an 8% jump simply because you were able to do in-depth text analytics on the same data set, which gave them NPS. Not to talk about the deep insights which came from this. So, and of course, we could build strength and associations with reasons, looking into each LOBs and processes on this text data, not just looking at simple 2-step regression models, which most CSI, SSI, or after-sale service studies do. I'll skip this. Yeah. So 2 important takeaways. One is integration of your CSAT, NPS data, whatever you're running, with the business intelligence data. How you can merge this through data lakes, which of course a lot of IT companies today are doing. Most companies, auto companies should also be investing in it. But the idea is to go beyond that data lake and run meta-analysis on top of it. The second one, I think the second one you're doing, but look at the third one, which is to use text analytics for root cause analysis and adding very significant depth to what you're achieving. Finally, what's next? This is the challenge we are working on for 2024, is to really figure out a much better, robust churn analytics for our client. This industry, of course, sees a lot of churn, where in prepaid consumers, clients tend to shift every 2-3 months, depending on where the better offer or a better deal is. And all our clients, all the 3 players in the industry, are always trying to reduce their churn. For you, this makes a huge amount of difference, because you are always looking to get your consumers to upgrade when the next time they buy, stick within the authorized workshops. These are all challenges you face, because this is what impacts your profitability, right? You want a Creta buyer to ultimately buy a Tucson. Fortunately, unfortunately, that's not happening, right? Not even 10%. And this is applicable to virtually all OEMs, on the upgrades. And then we have talked about how people churn out of authorized workshops to non-authorized ones very quickly the moment the warranty expires. This is what you want to keep down or keep within your organization. So if you can build a much stronger correlation between what you're capturing in your CSAT and NPS and make it much more robust. Right now, the predictability is below 0.5, which means it is not predictable at all. We need to go much beyond 0.7 to be able to get robust data. Right now, no NPS study, no CSAT study gives you any correlation, unfortunately, with churn. So it gives you a number, gives you a very good feel good, but does not predict whether this consumer will go back and buy your vehicle, or once his warranty or his service period is over, will still stick to the authorized centers or not. So we need to build that. So we are building that for our telecom client. And then, of course, the second challenge they have thrown up after seeing text analytics data is that, Sumit, if this text analytics data, it's so much better than the NPS which we are measuring, can you use this to build a model to predict the correct, or not predict, I would say correct or fine-tune the NPS scores we are getting, so that what we are getting has a much better predictability. So that's the second challenge for 2024, which we are working on right now. Yeah? That's all from my side. Questions, answers, anything? Happy to hear.
My first, and I sat through after that long session. I wanted to go out, but I sat through the presentation, and I'm happy I sat through. It's a good presentation.
Thank you.
Both in content and delivery, both. So my question after looking at all this, there are various ways of measurement of customer experience, satisfaction. NPS was one of them, CSAT was one of them. Industry where I come from, CSI and SSI were them. There would be some more also which I may not know. So which one works the best nowadays? Only for automobile companies. Let's say cars.
Sorry?
Only for automobile companies, which one works the best? Which one should concentrate on? Now I don't work in any OEM any longer, but still getting interested to know. Or which one is closest to something?
Right now, with what we are collecting, and if you ask your respective, I come from, I worked in JD Power. I started NCBS in India. I started the India After Sales Service, which the Skoda team talked to, Volkswagen team talked about or quoted. None of them have a good predictability with churn. None of them right now have it. The systems have improved, and the systems have been utilized to improve your scores and how dealerships and workshops work, so they all come on a common platform. And in that respect, in the last, let's say, 30, 40 years, the industry has taken a big leap forward, right? From where we were in, let's say, the 1980s or in the 1990s. So today, you will see as a lot of people mentioned, nearly everybody is at par. There is not a big difference between the top player and the bottom player, or the top 5 players. There's not a huge difference because everybody has used the same processes to come up to the benchmark. Unfortunately, what has that also led to, which some people mentioned since morning, is a commoditization. Right? So increasingly, brand differentiation is reduced quite a lot. You're seeing virtually the same products, virtually the same level of service coming out of all OEMs. And I personally have this objection to the industry continuously calling itself OEM. If you go to certain auto players, they don't call themselves OEMs, they call them some brands. And that's the big difference. I think that's the jump now you need to make. Otherwise, it will be very fast a commodity business with 2-3 players sitting on top, very strongly differentiated on brand values, and they will win the market like anything, which they're already doing, at least in terms of profitability and value.
Yeah, hi. My name is Rao. So my question was simple. There used to be a JD Power study, syndicated, which is not happening in India. I don't see it. I mean, unless you know about it. So my question is that
2 days back.
Okay, fine.
Last week or something, yeah.
So is it back?
CSI, I think the results came out. MG Motors got the highest score.
So
Yeah.
how many brands do you have now in that?
I'm not doing it, sir. I'm not related to it, but I think it should cover. It's a syndicated model. So since it's a self-sponsored study, they should cover each and every brand. They should not miss out anybody. Sorry? They did it only for 4. So that's a different thing. You need to buy to see this course. Yeah. Business strategy, whatever they're following, I really can't comment on it.
So my question is that, does this help the industry, the JD Power study, or would you see it differently?
I think all measurement helps the industry. It depends on how you want to use it. Whether it's JD Power or the NCBS counterparts done by the industry themselves or something else. You need some, somebody very rightly mentioned, you need to measure and only then you can improve. So all measurement studies really, really help. Syndicated platforms always help. How you can improve them, that's always annual discussion we should have as an industry. Thank you.
It was wonderful to hear from you, sir. And before we part ways and get into the next tea coffee break, I would like to call a representative from ASDC. Please come, sir. Please, most welcome. That's so sweet of him. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, Mr. Sumit. It was wonderful to hear from you, really. Thank you. All smiles, both the lovely gentlemen.